Hi everybody, this is Tawny again. I am here in San Antonio, Texas, and yes, it's on the Riverwalk, so I'm about to take a tour. But I just think of what new experiences. I've never been to San Antonio. It's my first time being here. What new experiences do for our lives, what they do for our brain and our neurology. It sounds all fancy, but more like to have a new experience for your life. It can totally change your perspective, your point of view. It can change your point of view about things you do back home. It can change your point of view about what's good, what's bad, what's different. It adds a richness to your life. It adds a richness of experience. And here's a boat passing me.
Tipping is allowed. If accepted, it's greatly appreciated.
There we go. So anyway, I'll do a video of just what this looks like, but I just wanted to do this quick, summary. I just think travel and meeting people is one of the things I love to do. But more importantly, I think in the realm of having new experiences. So the funny thing is, even though I've traveled to have a new experience, but really there's other things why I'm here. I am here on business, believe it or not. I just have a break where I can actually do this. But it's more about when we have new experiences, what that does for us. And actually, we can have new experiences exactly where we are right now. We can do things differently. We can experience friendships differently. We can have a different routine. There's many, 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 many things you can do where you experience yourself and your surroundings and your environment and your friends and people you like, people you don't like. You can experience that differently. And what does that do for your life? It brings a richness. Oh yes, hear that? It's joining in a little fun. So anyway, I'm going to put this video up, and later I'll give a just fun view of the tour. Okay? Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Also, let's watch our elbows. We'll be passing on the boats, and there'll be some narrow areas, so just be aware, folks. Now, be comfortable, but be aware. And also, of course, there's no smoking, no vaping, no dipping, things like that along the river. Now, before I get started with the tour, folks, I have a quick question. Do I have any locals on the boat? Anybody from San Antonio here on the boat? No locals? All right, it's good to know. You know why I asked that question, folks? Because now I know I can just make all of this up.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding, guys. Everything I tell you will be true, folks. Everything I tell you will be true. And we can actually start with a little footbridge that just came under there, folks. So that has become the most popular footbridge on the Riverwalk. We call this the Selena Bridge. Mm-hmm. Now, if you folks ever seen the movie Selena with Jennifer Lopez, that's the bridge they filmed on there. There's a scene where they're walking along the river and they come sit out on a bridge. That's the bridge. And coming up here, folks, I'll show you one of two optical illusions here along the Riverwalk. Now, when we pass this bridge, folks, if you look straight up to the left of the boat, you'll see the old Knicks Hospital. Now, this hospital was designed from the Riverwalk side to look like a flat wall. So when we pass this bridge, if you look straight up to the left of the boat, you'll see a 26-story flat wall with windows. So from right about here, look straight up to the left. And some very famous people you folks may have heard of were born here at this hospital. Carol Burnett was born here today. Albert North was born here. One of our former mayors, Henry C. Davros, was born here. And I was born here. And your grandson was born here, that's true. Oh, and I just found out, folks, there's also, I guess, a character in the movie, The Fast and the Furious. Her name was Letty, Michelle Rodriguez. She was also born here at the Knicks Hospital. And the hotel director here, by the way, folks, this is the Hyatt Regency Hotel. Now, this hotel is right across the street from the Alamo, so it had to be shadow tested. Now, we have a tradition here in San Antonio that says no building will ever cast a shadow on the Alamo. Now, this hotel was planned to be 26 stories tall, the same height as the Knicks Hospital. But at 26 stories here, well, that would have been a huge shadow on the Alamo. So what they did was, while the builder was building here, the city and the state came out and they inspected his shadow line. Now, there is such thing as a shadow line, folks. They inspected the shadow line of this hotel as it went up, and when he made it to 16 stories, they told him, you have to stop your building right here. You cannot build it any higher. I'll show you the difference, folks. If you look here to the right over the bridge here, you'll still see the next hospital. So this hotel was supposed to be that tall. So to make up for that, folks, because if you think about it, this builder came to work one day and lost 10 floors off his hotel right there. So to make up for that, what he did was he re-engineered the rest of the building. Instead of making it taller, he made it wider. He stretched it further toward the river. And all this part of the river here, folks, this is called the River Square. And this is where you'll find most of the bars and restaurants here along the river. So if you folks are ever wonder, does anybody actually fall into the river? Yes, they do, folks, fall into the river. We average about 60 people every year that fall in. And they usually fall in right along in here somewhere. You know, we call those guys the Friday Nighters. Now, I also tell people, folks, out here in the FBD, and here in San Antonio, we are known to throw a party. One of them is called Fiesta. That lasts for 13 days. So I think they left this river 4 feet deep for a reason. Fiesta is the first week of April. Yes, sir. This year it was actually the second week of April because they postponed it for the eclipse. And here to the right of us, folks, this is Casa Rio Mexican restaurant. Now, this is the very first restaurant on the river. They opened in 1946. They were the first ones to offer riverside dining, and also the first ones to offer dining on the boats. If you ever wonder, folks, like how this whole boat ride on the San Antonio River thing got started, well, if you were waiting for a table here back in the 40s, well, they didn't want you to stand around, so they put you on a boat and they ferry you around the river. Back then, there was actually a guy with a gondola and a push pole and all. And by the time he made it all the way back around the river, when of course your table was ready, they let you right off. Here's the gate we use right here, so everybody on and off that. I said we like I was here in 1946 or something. But there's the gate right there. Yeah. Now we're going to make this left-hand turn right here, folks. And when we do, we're going to be on what we call the man-made portion of the river. So from this little bridge forward, all this is all going to be man-made. This all has a hard concrete bottom. And this part behind us here, this is the natural flow of the San Antonio River. This all has a mud bottom. They actually dredged this section out and added this in back in 1968 for the World's Fair, because they realized there were going to be millions of people here in the downtown area for the World's Fair. And that's just too much traffic for these little roads. So they added this section in to ferry people back and forth from the convention center area back down to all the restaurants. I tell people there's only one word for that back in 1967, and it's brilliant! Now coming up here in front of us, folks, you're going to see two hotels coming to view here. Now these are both going to be Marriott hotels. The one to the left is the River Center Marriott, and the one to the right is the River Walk Marriott. Now listen to this story, folks. When they first bought the land to build this River Walk Marriott, there was already a hotel right there on the site. It was called the Fairmont Hotel. And the Fairmont Hotel was on the National Historic Registry. So it's a little historic 3-story hotel. So the builders of this Marriott had a little problem, folks. So they couldn't just destroy that little historic hotel and put the Marriott up. They actually had to figure out how they were going to move it off of the site. So what they did was, they put it on 36 giant dollies. Each one of them had 8 wheels. And they moved the whole building 5 blocks down the road to Alamo and Noella. It took them 5 days to move that building 5 blocks. And just a little FYI, folks, when they actually got the hotel to where it was going at, it was backwards. Yeah, don't ask me how they did that, it was backwards. And here to the right, folks, if you look on the wall here, you're going to see a tower there. Now this is the Tower of the America. And it was the centerpiece for the 1968 World's Fair. And this tower is 750 feet high. It has a revolving restaurant and an observation deck. And that restaurant makes one full rotation every 45 minutes. So you can't really feel it moving. Although I have heard some guests say, yes, you can. But I've never really felt it moving. But I will tell you this, folks. I think the guys who built the tower had a pretty good sense of humor. Folks, look, I'll tell you why. And like I said, the restaurant does make one full rotation, folks, but the bathrooms do not. So when you come out of the bathroom, your table's not going to be over there anymore. It's going to be over there somewhere. I learned that the hard way. I just saw my wife going over here. Did I tell you something else, folks, about when they moved that Fairmont Hotel? I tell you, that hotel stood right here in front of us to the left, folks. And they had to move it 5 blocks down the road. So they had to move it across the Market Street Bridge here in front of us. It took them 24 hours to get the hotel from one side of the bridge to the other. And they weren't too sure if it was actually going to work, folks, because first of all, this bridge was not designed for that. And second of all, that hotel weighed 3 million pounds. Listen to this. Now, you remember the little glass bottles, you can buy a champagne bottle? They took that glass bottle, folks, and they stuck it in the gap up there. See, there's a gap right there in the corner between the bridge and the wall? They stuck that bottle in the gap right there. And they had 4 engineers, 2 engineers above and 2 engineers below. And the engineers above told the engineers below that don't worry about all the shoring and the bracing we did. Keep your eyes on that bottle. If it breaks, let us know the bridge may be under too much pressure and we'll have to back the hotel up. Like they were just going to back that hotel up real quickly. So it actually worked. It took them 24 hours to get it from one side of the bridge to the other. And the Coke bottle didn't break, so it actually worked. yeah, exactly. Yes, ma'am. Uh-huh. Back here, folks, I showed you a couple of mosaics that were done back for the 1968 World's Fair. So all this hemisphere, this is all the part that was added in back in 1968 for the World's Fair. Now, we've had these bushes here on the right, folks. If you look here to the right, on the back wall there, you'll see a mosaic painted on the wall here. This is called the Confluence of Civilization. And if you look here to the left of the boat, folks, right above the Ryan Cockle Theater here, you'll see another mosaic. Now, this is actually a tile mosaic. And this is called the Confluence of Civilization in the Americas. It took the artist, folks, the man who did this, his name is Juan O'Gorman. It took him 2 years to collect all those tiles used up there. There's over 400,000 individual earth-colored stones up there. And right here, folks, this is where we make our turnaround right here. Now, you actually can continue further on foot back there. So if you keep on walking, that'll take you all the way back to Hemisphere Plaza, or the Tower of the Americas, where Hemisphere is. And we usually go around this island right here, folks. If you look back there to the left, see the gap right there? See the buoy floating? Somebody had a little mishap back there. So now we turn around right here. And don't worry, folks, we believe that was one of the city workers. Those big white barges you see on the river? Yeah, we believe they're trying to bring one through there, and somebody didn't make it. And you know what? We're making pretty good time on this tour, folks. You guys want to play a quick game? Yeah? Let's see if you can find something on the mosaic here to the right, folks. Let's see if you can find the Alamo up there. If you see it, folks, just yell it out. This is the part where I got you guys. The Alamo's 3 blocks down. No, I'm just kidding, folks. It actually is up there. Look, I'll show you where it's at. Actually, look right in the middle. You see the man and the woman? Now, they're not naked for no reason, folks. That's Adam and Eve. And right in the middle, there's a little boy. You know, he's a child of the future. He's standing right on top of the Alamo. He's right above the city of San Antonio. I mean, you guys expect it to be a little bit bigger than that. Now, by contrast, folks, the people you see up there are actually life-size. He made the mosaic 22 feet tall so he can make the people life-size. Now this is called the Confluence of Civilization in the Americas. So if you look to one side, folks, you see one civilization, the Incans and the Mayans. And if you look to the right, you see another, the Greeks and the Romans. And they meet right in the middle with space travel and nuclear science. That's why this one's called the confluence of civilization in the Americas. And just a little inside information, folks. Now, it took him 9 months to complete this for the World's Fair. 9 months. And look here across the river right there, folks. Just let me go up a little bit. You see that? See this hotel here to the left. Now, folks, 9 months for this mosaic. And if you look to the left, you can see a hotel right past the trees here with square rooms. That's the Hilton Palacio del Rio. They finished that in less than 8 months. And the sculpture coming up here to right of us. Now she's called the Stargazer, and she's one of the newest pieces of artwork here on the Riverwalk, folks. And the artist says she's holding something called a titular star. It's a star with a hole in the middle. It says at certain times of the year, you'll be able to look through the hole in the star and you can pinpoint certain stars in the sky. Watch it, I'll show you folks. See that little star there with a hole in it? Now I'll tell you something else, folks. There's also a pair of signs right next to the sculpture that say, please do not climb on the artwork. So I don't know how you're supposed to see a star through that little hole right there. Yes, ma'am. I had a guest one day, he asked me, so have you gone behind the sculpture and looked through the hole in the star? I said, actually, so yes I have. And you know what you can see through that hole right there, folks? Those 2 cypress trees. So far. And all this part over here in front of us, folks, now this is one of the newest additions to Riverwalk. This is the Riverside Mall area. And this was done back in 1988. And here at the Riverside Mall, there are 125 shops, restaurants, and small boutiques. There's actually over 1 million square feet of shopping spaces. Now, Chelsea has also had 2 movie theaters here in the Riverside Mall. One of them is an IMAX theater. Now, folks, if you guys have never seen a movie on an IMAX theater screen, that screen in there is 6 stories tall and 8 stories wide. Now I tell people that, folks, that screen in there is 6 stories tall and 8 stories wide. And right about here, people get a good look at that building, and I see the gears in their head turning like, wait a minute, that's only a 3-story building. How they get a 6-story movie screen in there? You did say you weren't going to make anything up. But actually what they did, folks, was they incorporated the basement of the food court in the height of the movie screen. So technically, part of that movie screen there is actually below the river level. And here's the very top up there, folks. That's a Legoland Playland. It goes all the way around. And I went up there one day, folks, just to check it out. Give you guys a little bit of extra information. Sometimes there's tour guides, we do that. And I went up there one day, folks, and they wouldn't let me in. You know why? You have to be accompanied by a minor. So I called my sister, we got my nieces and nephews and brought them back down. They loved it. There's a zip line in there and everything. Look, I got it back home, folks. I called my sister a couple hours later. She said, what are you doing next weekend? I guess I'm gonna bring them back down. They loved it. Yeah, I called her. I just said, folks, did they have fun? She's like, yeah, I had a lot of fun. What are you gonna do next weekend? And folks, not only do we have all that, 1 million square feet of shopping space and 2 movie theaters, a Legoland Playland. We even have an adult daycare here to Redville. That's what it's called, Margaritaville. Fun place. here to the left of us, folks, I'm sorry, the right of us, right past this bridge, you're going to see an 8-foot statue here. This is a statue of St. Anthony, or San Antonio de Padua. And the statue was a gift for the 1968 World's Fair from the Portuguese. And contrary to popular belief, folks, the city was actually named after the river. The river was named the San Antonio River in 1691. And that's way before the city sprang up. So by the time the city arrived, they just named it San Antonio after the river.
¿Cuál es el santo que se pone de cabeza a San Antonio, no? Ah, mira, ahí está.
And coming up here to the right, folks, if you look right over the wall here, in between the trees, you're going to see a church steeple there. It's actually much under renovation. And this is the steeple for St. Joseph's German Catholic Church. And this church was built in 1868 by our German-speaking immigrants here. Now back in the 1800s, folks, you hear German here just as much as you hear English or Spanish. I think my name is actually Dietrich. So if you look over the wall here to the immediate right, you'll see that building there. That is not the church. Oh, that's Riverside Mall where we just left. Now originally, when they were building this mall, what they wanted to do was to buy the church and just tear it down and build on the whole piece of property. They wanted the entire block. But of course, who's going to sell the historic church? So what the Riverside Mall did was, they just bought up all the surrounding land and built on all 3 sides of the church. So from out here you can tell there's going to be a little bitty church there in the middle, and then Riverside Mall to the left and the right. They didn't even leave a room for a parking lot. Folks, it's actually just the church up there.
Oh my God.
And like I said, that's an iconic church. Once a year, they have their mass in German. They have an all-male German choir that sings in there. They even have all the original stained glass windows they brought from Germany there. It's a beautiful church. I told people to have everything except for a parking lot. Oh, but don't feel bad about the parking lot, folks. Listen to this. When they were building the mall, they actually encroached on the church's property by 5 feet. Big mistake, folks. So of course the church sued them, and of course they won, and they were awarded $5 million.
Aw.
$1 million for every foot that the mall went over their property. Talk about karma, huh? Don't mess with the church. I love the property evaluation. $1 million per square foot, that's an expensive church. Coming off of here, folks, we're going to make this left-hand turn. I just want to make sure there's not going to be another boat coming in before we drive out there. Safety first. And nobody coming. Now we're going to make this turn right here, folks. And when we do, if you look here to the left in front of the boat, you see a hotel here with square rooms. Now this is the Hilton Palacio del Rio, folks. This is the hotel I was telling you. They built in less than 8 months. Technically, folks, now this building is in the Guinness Book of World Records for being the fastest modularly built building of its size. And they built this entire hotel, folks, from beginning to end, 500 rooms, in 202 working days. Now, 202 working days, folks, that's less than 8 months. Now, just to give you guys something to compare that to, folks, less than 8 months, if you look at your arrival, you see one of my ticket offices here. Now, just to give you guys something to compare that to, it took us 18 months to build these 2 little buildings here. I tell everybody here to the right, 18 months. Here to the left, 8 months. Now, the way they built this hotel so fast, folks, they built the first 4 floors right here on site, along with the elevator shaft there in the middle as a base. And all the square rooms you see, those were being built at the exact same time, 7 miles out of town on an assembly line, and they were brought in on flatbed trucks. And when they arrived here in town, every one of these rooms was fully furnished. Everything was in there. All the beds were in place, pictures on the walls, dressers, mirrors, TVs, everything was ready to go in every room. All we had to do was use giant cranes and stack them on top of each other like Lego blocks. And each one of those rooms, folks, weighed 70,000 pounds. And I'll tell you folks, they did this in 202 working days. So they even got the weekends off while they were building this hotel. And the way they managed that, folks, was in the beginning of this project, H.B. Zachary, the man who built this building, says we'll have to do 10 rooms a day. They wanted to stack 5 rooms on each side. But in the beginning of the process, they realized they were so good with the crane work here, they could do 35 rooms a day. So at 35 rooms a day, they were just so far in the schedule, he gave them the weekends off, and they still got done in 2. And this spot over here in front of us is the Arneson River Theater. The seating is to the left, and the stage is to the right. The amphitheater divided by the river. And folks, we can seat 800 people here in the Arneson. We call that intimate seating. Because with 800 people up there, you'll get to know your neighbors. And if this part of the river looks familiar, if you've ever seen a movie called Miss Congeniality with Sandra Bullock, this is where they filmed the swimsuit competition. You gotta watch it, folks. They have no fear. Coming over here to the right about folks, now this is the Briscoe Western Art Museum. Now this used to be the San Antonio Public Library from 1930 until 1968. In 1968, it was renovated and turned into the Hertzberg Circus Museum. In 2013, it was renovated again and turned into the Briscoe Western Art Museum. And the sculptures coming up here to the right about folks. Now the big one, that represents a Spanish cowboy, a vaquero herding cattle up to the Briscoe. And the small one you see to the immediate right, those 2 birds, those are great blue heron. And they put that sculpture right there, like literally right there, because those birds nest here along the river every year. If you look up here to the left, folks, we already have 2 nesting pairs that have already come back. And now I try to keep to the right, folks, gonna make a big old mess of your boat. See them up there? Look straight up there to the left. Those birds come back to the same trees they were born in every year. It might be a little bit easier to spot when we pass it. If you look back from this way, see what there? You see the birds up there? Those are great blue herons. And this next bridge we're going to right here from, this is the Presa Street Bridge. This bridge was built in 1890 by a British ironworks company. And there are only 6 of these bridges known to still be in existence, and 5 of them stand livable. These were built for horse and carriages. I told people during our life, this is why we don't have 7-foot tall boat drivers on the river. You gotta know exactly which way to go on this bridge according to your height. And here to the right, but for the romantics here, this is called Marriage Island. And we have about 300 marriages performed right here on this little island every year. This is where Father Damien Massenet held the very first Catholic Mass here along the river back in 1691. It actually named it the San Antonio River from this site. So it's considered to be a holy site and an extra blessing on your marriage to get married right here. So people come from all over Texas to get married right here on this little island. It's actually a heart-shaped island. The roots of the tree form a heart shape. I'll tell you a cute story, folks. I was driving by here a few months ago, and there was a young couple that was sitting there kissing. I said, "Sir, you know this is called Marriage Island, right?" And he said, "Well, I may as well propose." So he reached in his pocket, pulled out the ring, got that on his knee. And I confess, folks, I'm a hopeless romantic. I couldn't stop this boat fast enough. I don't know who was more surprised, me or his girlfriend. And coming up here to the left of my folks, this is my favorite building here in Little Rock. This is the Tower Life building. Now it's one word, Tower Life, and it was built in 1929 and called the Smith & Young Tower. And Mr. Smith and Mr. Young were really superstitious. So they put the gargoyles all the way around the top. There's actually 16 gargoyles that circle the top of the building. And those are functioning water spouts. We get out of rain, the water comes out of their mouths. And if you look right above the second row windows here along the bottom, you'll see some faces. And those faces are called grotesques. They put those there to help ward away evil spirits and make sure they make good business investments. But did you catch it, folks? Good business investments. They built this building in 1929. So when the stock market crashed, they lost everything. It cost them $3 million to complete this building. And 5 months later, the stock market failed, and they had to sell it for $300,000. Pennies on the dollar. I tell people with that deal, that was literally 10 cents on every dollar. Those faces did not work. See the one right there with his mouth wide open? I tell people that's the $300,000 face. He's like, we're getting how much for this building? You see the smile on the one right next to him? That's the guy that bought the building. Now this next bridge we want to here, folks. You see that sign in the middle? It says St. Mary Street. Now this is the St. Mary Street Bridge, folks. Now this bridge, ladies and gentlemen, are about to go under right now, the St. Mary Street Bridge. Now this bridge right here, folks, has no historical significance. That's the bridge. Except for this, folks, and I'll show you why that's my favorite building here on Little Rock. Now if you look back at the Tower Light building from the other side of the bridge, it looks like a ship coming down the river. And that's the second optical illusion here along the river. And if you can imagine, folks, somebody standing up there like this, DiCaprio style. There's a reason for that, folks. They designed the whole front of the building like the bow of the Titanic. So they even put rails around the front. See the one there in the middle? I tell people that maybe why did they sell it for $300,000. And right here, folks, this is where we kind of slow down a little bit, make sure there's nobody coming. Now we have three-way traffic right here along the river, so we slow down, hit the foghorn. So here comes my horn, folks. Might be kind of loud. Here comes the horn. Gotcha. Yeah, when I first got this job, folks, I was like, what'd you take that thing out of a Pinto? Or a Prius or something? Now we're going to make this turn right here, folks, and when we do, we're going to be on the deepest part of the Little Rock here. It's all going to be 15 feet deep. This is our flood control canal. Now the rest of the river, folks, all the way around, that's only 4 feet deep through the entire downtown area. But this part was dredged out for flood control between 1921 and 1941. Because we had a flood here, folks, back in 1921, before the Central River was added in, and the water here in the downtown area alone was 10 feet above the street level. So that's a lot of water we have to deal with here in the downtown area, 10 feet above the street level. And then right here, folks, here's something else for the romantics. If you look up on the street level there in front of us, see all the locks on the fence up there? Well, those are called love locks, like in Paris. Now the tradition says you and your love come down and you put a lock on the fence. And you both kiss the keys, and you throw the keys in the river, sealing your love forever. So right now, there are thousands of keys beneath us in the river. If you look back on this side, there'll be another fence on this side with hundreds more locks on it. Look, I used to tell people, folks, all those keys are beneath us in the river right now. But I had to stop saying that. All those keys part, you know, I think some of these guys might be a little unsure of themselves, shall we say? Because I realize, folks, if you go there to the left, there's a lot of combination locks up there. So a lot of these guys are not throwing their keys in the river. And I'm not too sure if it's still open today, but there's a little store right all the river. You get my locks there also. Man, we're going to have one heck of an apple snail infestation this year, folks. So this pink stuff right over the water line looks like bubble gum stuck to the long there. You see it all along the river, folks. Those are the eggs of an apple snail. And that's an invasive species here in the San Antonio River, folks. We are not supposed to have apple snails in the river. It looks like we may not be able to get rid of them now. Folks, have you guys ever seen one of those? Anybody ever seen an apple snail? They get about this big. They're about that big. It's called an apple snail. We don't know where they came from. We think somebody must have dumped their prey on these upriver years ago, and they just came down with a current, because now they're going to be everywhere. So all that pink stuff you see, those are the eggs of one of those snails. They come up at night and lay their eggs. they're coming up ahead, folks, I'll give you a quick visual of what 10 feet above the street level looks like, folks. Now, if you look here to the left, folks, you see this white brick building coming up here in front of us. Now, this is the Jewelry Inn Hotel right now. But back in 1921, when we actually had that flood, this was our CPS office, City Public Service. It's where you come pay your utility bill. There was a picture in the San Antonio paper. The headlines read, ironically, the CPS office floods. The water, folks, was just below the chandeliers in there. So that's what 10 feet above the street level looks like, just below the chandeliers. And this little bar we're passing here to the right of us, folks. Now this is the Esquire Tavern. And this is the very first bar to open on Little Rock, folks. And they opened this bar, guys, literally the day Prohibition ended, with a fully stocked bar in there ready for business. I ask people how you think they did that. Either they had one heck of a delivery guy, or this was a speakeasy. And it actually was a speakeasy disguised as a barber shop. So you had to know exactly what kind of haircut you wanted, on exactly what day of the week, so the guy at the little secret door wouldn't let you go downstairs for a drink. Now you can actually still do what we call going to the downstairs. Now you can go to the Esquire and say, you know what, we want to go downstairs. If it's open, you can go down there, folks. It looks exactly like a speakeasy. Like they didn't change a thing. Vintage drinks and all. It's really cool. Now, right here, folks, this pretty much concludes our tour, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I picked you up right here on the right-hand side, but we only have this one landing, so I have to let you off up here on the left. So at this point, like I said, this pretty much concludes our tour, folks. So please look around, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you have everything with you, okay? You don't want to leave anything on the boat. Like your cell phones, video cameras, shopping bags, backpacks, things like that. Well, now, if you do leave something on the boat, folks, don't worry, we do have a lost and found. You can retrieve your lost items at www.ebay.com. Oh, you guys caught that. Well, that's good kind of stuff. All right, folks, we hope you guys had a good time and learned a little bit of history here on the road and had a good time.
Yes.
Now remember, if you had a good time, come back and see us. My name is Dietrich. If you did not have a good time, my name is Ruben. And also, ladies and gentlemen, for a job well done, folks, your tips are allowed, accepted, and greatly appreciated, folks. And we thank you very much for coming, ladies and gentlemen. Now I'm going to get the boat stopped and tied down, right, folks? Now please let me get the boat completely stopped and tied down before you stand up and try to get off. They got safety first.